Hello guys, thanks for joining me today. Today I've taken out another item in my Cold War collection, and it's a US Army utility shirt or fatigue shirt. This is the so-called OG 107 fatigues, which came out in 1952, and they were used in the United States Army up until the very late 1980s. This particular one here is a so-called Type 3 shirt or utility shirt. This particular design came out in 1966, and this is the second pattern, I suppose you could call it. It's a polyester and cotton mix, and that particular shirt came out in 1975, and these were used up until 1989 when the OG 107 utility uniforms were withdrawn. The OG stands for olive green, and the 107 is the shade of green used in the uniforms. This particular item here is a OG 507, and that is because it's a polyester cotton mix, so the terminology is slightly different, but it's still the basically the same shirt, same cut. And these particular shirts here came out in 1975, and as the other shirts, they were used up until 1989. This one here is badged up to a butter bar, a second lieutenant in the 82nd Airborne Division. So I thought we'd have a closer look at it. It's quite a nice item. It was probably used, as I say, the shirt came out in 1975, but the 82nd Airborne basically got kitted out with BDUs in about 1982, so I would imagine this shirt here was used between 1975 and 1982. But it's quite an interesting shirt, so we'll have a closer look at it, I suppose. So the top, you've got the rank of second lieutenant. They were called butter bars because of the yellow stripe there, the yellow bar. And basically a second lieutenant in the US Army, US Airborne Divisions would have been a platoon leader. And US platoons had about between 20 or 40 men, depending on unit. And he would have had a senior NCO as second. There would have been several squads in a platoon commanded by an NCO, and the second lieutenant would have been in charge of several squads. At the very top we got a size label. I don't know if you're going to see it, but it's a neck size 16.5 times 32, and 32 is the length of the arm. On the other side of the collar, you got the crossed rifles for infantry. And we've got the 82nd Airborne Division patch, AA, All-American. The reason it's called All-American is when it was formed in 1942, it took in recruits from all over the Union instead of just one state or region. So hence the All-American. And this particular soldier here, Lieutenant Hughes, has had quite a career. You can see all the badges badged up there. So I suppose going from the arm sleeve, we've got the subdued patches for Airborne, 82nd Airborne Division, the AA. On top of that is the Ranger tab. So this particular soldier here had attended the Ranger School, and the Ranger School were held, or are still being held, in Georgia. It was called Fort Benning at the time. I think it's called something different now. But he would have been trained in small unit tactics and leadership, close combat, fighting, and the like. Over the pockets you've got the Hughes name tag and the US Army name tag, or US Army tag I should say. Above the US Army tag are the parachute wings. He's qualified for parachute drops, so that's the basic wings there. And he would have had the airborne training in Fort Benning, again in Georgia, and it would have been the Army Airborne School, and also known as the Jump School. Above the airborne wings we've got the US Army Expert Infantry badge, which is basically a proficiency badge for infantry and special forces units. So it's quite a nice item, as you can see. So it's just a plain shirt. My father wore a shirt like this during his time in the army in the 1970s. The shirt could be worn either tucked in or tucked out, depending on unit standard operational procedures, depending on the whims of the commander. Mostly the shirt would have been worn out of the trousers during warm weather. On parade and the like, it would have been tucked into pants, into the trousers. So, the cuffs have a button each. The earlier shirts didn't have a cuff, button cuff. It would have just been opened. As I said, this is I think it's 50% polyester, 50% cotton, and as I said, it came in 1975. And one way you can tell that it's a 1975 shirt is the yellow tag. The previous ones to that were white. Unfortunately, the tag is faded, so I can't get any information from it. It would have had the instructions, care instructions, and also the date of manufacture, but I can't determine the date. It's too faded. Anyhow, that's my 82nd Airborne Division OG 507 shirt. Quite a nice item for my Cold War collection. Anyhow, I'll leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed that video. And as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.